know Chase as our co-curator of education and programs and curator of special projects at the Gibbs. While this is his debut exhibition, Chase has organized and executed many memorable programs during, and especially one this past spring, a performance in the round of the Greek tragedy Antigone. Outside of his work at the Gibbs, Chase has been an independent art and culture critic for over a decade. His work has appeared in publications like World of Interiors, Condé Nast Traveler, the Guardian, Art Forum, Vanity Fair, Frieze, Bon Appetit, Garden and Gun, and many more. He is the recipient of the South Carolina Press Association Award for headlining reporting on LGBTQ issues, and a Charleston Pride Rising Pride Award recipient for emerging leaders in the LGBTQ community. Before moving to Charleston in 2016, Chase lived and worked in New York City for the Center for Constitutional Rights, leveraging art and culture to bring in new communities. He calls Wilmington, Delaware his home. However, Charleston has embraced him. He is a double major graduate of Boston University in English literature and political science. So please welcome our own Chase Quinn.
Attempt to do my remarks with my mask on. We'll see how far I get. Thank you, Angela, and hello, everybody. First, I want to say what an honor it is to be standing here and to have the opportunity to curate my first show at the Gibbs Museum of Art, an institution that I truly love. And for me, tonight feels a bit like graduation, because indeed, while this exhibition has been underway for the better part of 3 years, but I promise that my remarks will not take that long. But I am gonna beg your indulgence because there are so many people to thank. First and foremost, I have to thank our Executive Director, Angela Mack, and our Director of Curatorial Affairs, Sarah Arnold. While they both have been wonderful guides along the way, what I'm really thanking them for is, in the face of the unknown, choosing to say yes to new stories, to new voices, and to taking risks. It was Ralph Waldo Emerson who said, now this really does sound like a commencement, do not follow where the path may lead, go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. And I think that this exhibition really captures the spirit of that quote in many ways. In curating this show, there's been a host of researchers, writers, archivists whose work it's been my privilege to build upon. That includes Harlan Green for his scholarship on the Charleston Renaissance, Charleston's LGBTQ communities, and on Edward Ned I.R. Jennings. Visitors can actually explore the College of Charleston's SE LGBTQ archive within the exhibit to learn more about that. I also have to thank Stephen Hoffius. When I shared the initial concept for the exhibit over cocktails with he and his wife, Susan Hoffius, based on what I saw as an uncanny and shared visual language between two of the featured artists, he immediately brought out his research on Oscar Wilde's visit to Charleston, which only confirmed what I had suspected to be true, that Charlestonians were very much aware of the British aestheticism movement and that its markers were visible in the work of its visual artists. Other torchbearers include my Aunt Lisa, who is here tonight from Wilmington, Delaware, who, as a bookworm herself, instilled in me a passion for literature and storytelling early on. Beyond that, I have to thank Joachim Homan, Maida, and George Abrams, curator of drawings at Harvard Museums, who was one of the first to recognize the salience and the importance of what we were trying to say, and Carrie Forrest, the former Low Country Program Director of the Gaylord and Dorothy Donnelly Foundation, who had faith in the project from the very start. And last but certainly not least, I give thanks to Gibbs' current and former staff, It was former head preparator Chris Patalier, who after all, when I said that I was intrigued to see more works by Ned Jennings, did not hesitate to show me our full collection, even though I was a lowly program and tour coordinator. And Becca Heister, my comrade in arms in the Education and Programs Department, who didn't bat an eyelash to create the space that I needed to pursue this vision. And Erin Banks, as Angela mentioned, our astonishing creative director, who always made room for my ideas, even when they were unorthodox. These are all people who said yes. I also want to thank Maggie Clater, Teresa Munoz, David Petapan, and Nick Ripkema, our curatorial team, for their efforts and for working so collaboratively. So to the exhibition, we had three main objectives in bringing this show. The first was establishing for the first time the influence of the decadent and distinctly queer British aestheticism movement on the visual arts of Charleston and the Charleston Renaissance specifically. The second, which is really close to my heart, and perhaps most important, was lifting up the legacy and contribution of an undersung artist by the name of Edward Ned I.R. Jennings, perhaps one of the most original voices to come out of the Renaissance. Of Ned, who ended his own life at the young age of 31, Laura Brogg being his mentor and the former head of the Charleston Museum, that she had never seen someone work so hard for so little. With this exhibit, we hope to ensure his legacy is celebrated into the future and affirm that while he may have been misunderstood in his own time, he did not work in vain. And then thirdly, our goal was to affirm the influence of queer culture and aesthetics on the visual arts of Charleston. And some of you may be wondering what we mean by that. And what we mean in this context is not germane to how someone identifies sexually, although it may. We choose the term to accommodate the sheer expanse of cultural practices that throughout history, hidden or in plain sight, have resisted a heteronormative framework, breaking with convention, and insisting on aesthetic, political, and sexual experimentation. So there'll be many programs related to exhibit that I hope that you'll consider attending. One that I'd like to highlight is a discussion with the curator of drawings at the Musée d'Orsay in Paris, who's coming all the way to Charleston just to talk to us about this show on December 2nd. Another is with author and scholar Harlan Green, who will deliver a talk entitled Queering the Charleston Renaissance, and that's on November 15th. And you can find tickets for all of that on our website. So without further ado, I thank you all for coming and for your time, and I'm thrilled to invite you into the galleries. I hope you love the show, and I'll let the artwork speak for itself.
Thank you.